I just got kicked out of my house by my parents, and I will not believe my side of the story. It's so sad that my parents would choose to believe someone they have just met over me. They know me, and they know that I would never do anything to harm a woman. She's the one who is spiteful because I refused to give her my room. Now I've lost everything, family, friends. I just hope that this does not reach my workplace because then I'll be in trouble. Now, I'm sleeping in a friend's living room. She's the only person who would take me in. As for my family, they chose to believe my sister-in-law, Aida, who has had it out for me for about 6 months now. When they first moved in, I was excited because I would not be the young person in the house anymore. They moved back into the house because their workplace was far away, and they've both been transferred since they were husband and wife. Instead of renting out an apartment, forking out a crazy deposit, and renting for many, many more years, they decided that they would move back in with their parents and save that money for a house, and as far as I know, they both make good enough money to buy a home, and as for myself, I have a very long time before I can even afford a house. Let us just say that at my job I get peanuts. I was not really that smart in college, so I dropped out and got some general work. It's difficult for me to afford an apartment, a car, and other living expenses alone. My parents noticed it when I was living alone and started losing weight, and so my mother demanded that I move back in with them, and they then told me that I had to save up to go back to college and then get a better job, and it's fair enough for them to make me pay for my own college. After all, I don't have to contribute anything to that house. The only thing I have to chip in sometimes is food and electricity bill if it's too high. But, well, with my brother and my sister-in-law moving in, I was going to be less lonely. I looked up to my brother, He's an inspiration to me. Growing up with 3 brothers was one of the best things to happen to me, and my other brother lives a street over, but he's always at the house. The past few months have been very blissful, and I've spent a lot of time with my family. We go on trips together and have family dinners and game nights, and I can say that we're all very close and respect each other. This is why I found it offensive how disrespectful Aida was when she requested that I give up my room. She did not ask me, instead she told me that I was going to give up my room for her because she needed a home office. She could not use Dad's because Dad's office contains sensitive documents for his patients. No one is allowed in there. Not even my mother? So, I thought that she was joking, so I simply laughed. I told her that maybe she could convert the storage room into an office. She asked me how she could work in that dirty room, so now she was supposed to lose her job because they switched her to working from home. I respectfully told her that there was no way I was moving out of my childhood bedroom. I've personalized that room, and well, I can't imagine moving into another room. It was not like we had another room in the house unless I moved into the guest room, and everyone knows that room is off limits. Our arguing got louder, and she got angrier, and I was surprised by how she spoke to me. She spoke to me like a child, calling me stupid and telling me to respect my elders, and I told her that respect was earned, and that was what she was doing, was being disrespectful. Her husband Thomas then came and asked what was going on, so I told him, and he looked at her visibly upset, and he asked her why she had to make a big deal out of everything because he told her he was going to handle it. While she was screeching at him, Randy came to weigh in. Randy said that there's no way that was going to happen, and if she was not going to accept the other alternatives, then there's no way that they could stay in this house. He told them that they were a married couple, but this was not their home. He would not allow them to bully me like that, and I was so happy that my big brother stood up for me. Thomas, on the other hand, said that maybe I should consider moving out. After all, I was not contributing anything to the household. I then pointed out how they earned so much more than me and how I was earning peanuts. If I moved out, then I would not have the money to go back to school. Aida said that maybe if I'd focused on school and did not drop out, this would not be happening to me. Randy then puts his foot down and says this would not be up for discussion. Thomas and Aida could make another plan, and everybody was in a sour mood after that, but much to my delight, those two went to snitch to Dad. Dad said exactly what Randy said. They could not come here and rule over us. And that was how I made an enemy of my sister-in-law. Yesterday, she came into my room while I was having my afternoon nappy nap, and well, she took her clothes off, and then she started to scream. I saw that her clothes were torn and she was crying, so I assumed that something had happened to her. My instincts were to go to her and ask her what's going on, if I needed to call an ambulance, etc. And woe is me for falling into this trap. Right then, my two brothers entered and they asked her what's going on. And they had gotten her call and she started sobbing uncontrollably and her words became incoherent. Well, I was confused as hell. All the worst possible scenarios came to my mind, but when she pointed at me, the power left my body. I became ice cold. The next thing I knew, Randy pinned me up against the wall, and he told me to spit out what I've done. I told him I've done nothing. What came out of her mouth next was nothing more than an utter lie. They shocked me to the point where I was speechless, and she then told him that it was me. I've done this to her. She said that for weeks I've been acting creepy towards her, so today I called her into my room and tried to assault her sexually. She told them that I made my comments about her body and asked her inappropriate things. I shouted that she's a liar. I did not even speak to her. In fact, when I saw her, I only greeted her and walked away. Ever since that day she tried to take my room, I have not been a fan of her. As I was trying to explain, Randy smacked me. It was blinding and my ears were ringing. He then told me to pack everything I have and get the heck out. I looked at Thomas. Thomas was glaring at me. Through gritted teeth, he told me that I have 1 hour to leave, or I would leave in a bag. I told them that I was not going to leave without my parents, but Randy hit me again. He called me a slimy, disgusting human being, and he told me that he was disappointed in me. I was so sad when he said that to me. After all, I look up to him the most. So I packed my things and left. Everywhere I went, I was turned away. She had already told my family and friends. When my parents sent me a message telling me that they would never consider me their son again, it hurt me so much. I know myself, and I know that I would never do that to her or anybody, but people believe her, not me. So now I'm staying in a cramped bachelor apartment with the only person who knows that I would never do that, my best friend Kane. He knows more about me than even my own parents and knows why this would not be possible. But I could not risk telling anybody my secret. I should not have mentioned it here, but at least none of you know me personally. Update number 1. It's been a very cold winter with no end in sight, and it's funny that a few days after I got kicked out, it started to snow. I had a difficult few months as I had to wake up early every day, and if Kane had already finished the hot water, then I would have to spend the time waiting for the water to boil. Well, we then went to work where we were treated terribly. We would then put some money together and get dinner. Now I realized that living with my parents was a luxury. I did not know what other people I worked with were going through. I thought that there was no end to this. My family had all cut me off, and at least she did not press charges, otherwise right now I would be in jail. Of course, she would not press charges since she knows what she lied about, and every time I see her, she has a smirk on her face. How petty could you be to ruin an innocent person's life so that you can get the last laugh? But hope did not fade. From spring was coming, and with that comes miracles. One day, we went to work and we found out that our manager was being fired. It turned out that she had not been following any of the labor regulations, and she had been deducting money from some of our salaries, making us work extra hours, and even doing her job for her. That meant that some of us could not even afford basic necessities, and once she was gone, we found out that we have been cheated out of a lot of money. The union threatened to protest, and after all, it was our money on the line, you know. Instead of filing a lengthy lawsuit, the company decided to reimburse about 30% of the workforce that had been affected by the illegal deductions. I was happy to find out that Kane and I were among those affected. Now, it made sense that while we all did the same job, some people seemed to be doing better. The money was going to be paid in installments, but it was going to be a lot. When we got it, we immediately got a big apartment as far away from the parents as possible, and I then used the rest of the money to put into my college fund. With my now cut back hours, a better salary, and having a roommate, things are looking up. I'm sure that in a couple of years I'll be able to go back to college and finally make something out of myself. Things are starting to look up. They're not all the way all right, but at least somebody is there listening. Update number 2. Guys, I know it's been a long time. It's been a whopping 5 years. 5 long years since I've last updated, and I was reminded of this post while looking through my archives. When I posted, I screenshotted all the positive comments and then made a folder of them, and every time I doubted myself or somebody from my past tried to question my character, I went and read the comments, and now I've made it. Within a year, and with the installments from my old job, I managed to enroll myself in community college. Kane, who had a degree but was not passionate about it, decided that he would also join me there, but part-time. It took him longer than me, but we managed to graduate, and he then got an opportunity out of state. I talk to him when I can. In fact, I want to visit him and his wife at the end of the year. After college, I got myself a good job and opened a little business designing apparel on the side, and what was supposed to be my passive income became my main income, and I moved away from my family when I was in college, so at least there was no negativity from them. I have some extended family members contacting me, telling me of the news in my family, and frankly, I don't really care about them. I've ignored all their messages and deemed them a waste of my time. I'm of the belief that your family will betray you, then they have the most, power to stab you in the back. But when it comes to friends, those are the ones who will always have your back, and I've had so many friends who have become like family over the years. I'm finally at a place where I'm proud of myself. At the beginning of the year, I managed to buy my first home. It was very affordable considering the condition. It was a bit of a fixer-upper, but I love a challenge. I have a friend who makes a living building customizing RVs and even boats. I paid him for his work and anything else he needed. Over the past 9 months, he's done wonders with it, and soon it'll be ready for me to move in. I can't believe it. My excitement is too much. Nothing can ruin it. Well, almost nothing. Guess who contacted who? Guess who believes me now after kicking me out like a dog? Why, if it's not my mother? I got her messages a couple weeks ago, but I deleted them. I might have been 5 years, but I still resent them. She gave birth to me. She's supposed to know what I'm capable of and what I'm not, and there's so much more that she does not seem to know about me. I guess she really is clueless, and what did she want? She told me that she and my father really needed a place to stay. Their own family was mistreating them. Somehow, my brother and sister-in-law now wanted to own the house. When I first read her messages, I thought that they were just seeking attention. After all, the last time that I saw them, they were busy playing happy family, but it kept on nagging me. Especially after Kane called me and told me to talk to my mom, things were bad. Well, I was confused and asked him to explain, and he told me that it was bad. He had seen my parents, and it was simply like they were not eating. I didn't have time to ask him any more questions because my mom texted me again, begging me. She said that she did not deserve mercy, but she had nowhere to turn. So I get off the phone with Kane and told her that I would meet her and my father, and I gave them an address and asked them to meet me there on the weekend. I've booked all of us into a hotel as a bit of a trip. I don't feel like traveling much in one day, so then this weekend I'm going to find out what fresh hell Aida's been brewing. I know that it's her. There is no one else who would be responsible for their suffering if not her. Update number 3. I've had so many words prepared for what I was going to see them. Well, the people who gave birth to me and then discarded me, and do you know that after she accused me, they would never even look at me? They've not spoken a word to me in 5 long years, and I've had so much anger built up inside me, so much that I wanted to say. I wanted to tell them that I was not a loser like they all thought of me, and I wanted to prove to them that I've become something when they've abandoned me. All of that stayed in my heart and refused to come out. My mom was in a wheelchair, and my father was 30 years older. Their clothes were hanging onto them, and their eyes were hollow. It was like all the life had just been drained out of them. I didn't waste any time. I sat down and told them to state their business. I had work to do. So without further ado, here's what happened. Shortly after I left, Randy lost his job. He then had to move in with his girlfriend, and they were barely making ends meet. Slowly, they lost contact with the family, and in the meantime, Aida made life hell for everyone. She blamed my parents for what happened and threatened to get me arrested, and Mom begged her not to, for she knew what it would do to me. Slowly, Aida started to control everything. She was under the impression that she could not trust anyone in our house, so she quit her job and made Thomas work for her. She was pregnant at the time, so her mother took care of her, but even after she gave birth, she did not stop bossing my mom around. But she kept it to a minimum since my father, the head of the household, was there. This went on for a number of years, until this year when my dad had to retire due to his age. He had some money saved up for his retirement plan and just wanted to get a little house for himself and mother, somewhere remote where they could just be at peace. Since I was already out of their house and my brother Randy was simply unreachable, they figured that they could move out and rent the house out or sell it. Thomas and Aida had been living at the house for 6 years at this point, yet they claimed that they were saving up for a house. Still, they must have wanted to buy a Beverly Hills mansion, because it doesn't take that long to buy a moderate family home. I mean, come on. And considering that Aida was also still working, so my parents started to question Aida and Thomas about when they would move out. They had plans to either sell or rent out the house so that they could have a passive income. That was when Aida told them that she had no intention of leaving the house. She felt that since she gave birth to a son in their house, she had every right to it. My parents let her know that it was not how things happen in this world, and she refused to accept it and once again threw a tantrum. Mother and father stood their ground, telling her that the house was not hers to have. That was not how it worked in the family, and we did not do handouts, and she was not pleased to hear that at all, telling them that they would see about that. So, a few weeks later, Dad heard that his pension fund had been paid out to my brother. When Dad went home to confront him about what he had done, which is very illegal, he was nonchalant about it, and he told Dad that he was going to be responsible for him financially since he had dementia. Wait, dementia? What the hell had been going on in that house ever since I left? And how the hell was my mom in a wheelchair? I was just as confused as anyone else would be. It turns out that my father does not have dementia. He is perfectly fine. Yet somehow, without any medical proof, my brother was able to prove that he had a claim to the pension. It only gets worse from there. They started to treat my parents like little kids. They decided when my parents ate, what they did, etc., and they got rid of the maid and made my mother clean. My mom is in her 60s. She cannot work, but they didn't care. They made her work. That is, until one day she fell and broke her hip, and one of her discs slipped out of place and she was rendered paralyzed from the waist down. Right after she had recovered, she called Randy to tell him that he needed to kick those two out, and Randy was still nowhere to be found. None of his numbers were working, and there was nothing that he could do. So then she tried to contact me, but I was not answering, and the time it took for me to answer, things had gotten worse because they wanted Mom out of the house. Aida tried to threaten them, but they did not back down. The house was the only thing that they had. In addition, they were trying to get Dad's pension back, and that was when Aida came to my mom and told her that she had no choice but to transfer everything to Aida. If she did not, then she was going to tell everyone that my father assaulted her. And that's when it clicked into place, something that's been eating at my mom for ages. She did not believe that I have done something wrong, but she was under pressure from my brother to kick him out. With no proof, she did not want them to send me to prison, so then she just decided to believe what she knew in her heart to not be true. So then, it was confirmed that I was innocent, and by chance she bumped into Kane, to whom she explained the situation and begged him to ask me for help. So then he called me and told me that they were in trouble and simply needed my help. She said that she was glad I had Kane to take care of me over the years, and she just wished that I've been brave enough to tell her about the relationship. That was when I was lost. What relationship? She said the reason Kane believed me was that I was in a relationship with him. I laughed. Is that what my mom assumed? I'm sorry, I said, to disappoint you, but Kane's married. That's when she started questioning me about my love life and my sexuality. I managed to get her to keep quiet about it, and now was not the time. I would tell them all in due time, and I went through a lot of emotions, and I will not waste walking you through them. I forgave them. I think I already did a long time ago. I told them that they were not going to go back to the house yet. As for my brother and Aida, they would meet my wrath. How dare you threaten to ruin my dad's reputation? How dare they make my mom work like a slave? And Thomas really was okay with the fact that his wife was a liar? Did he not know that she would find a way to swindle him out of everything when she gets a chance? If she could lie about such serious allegations, then what could she not lie about? So at the end of this weekend, I'm going back home with my parents, and it's just in time because the house I've been building is ready. It would be easier to let those savages have that house, since I do have my own house, but what good is it? Letting them win? I will make them bleed. Metaphorically, of course. Updates number 4. Hey guys, short update on this one. Today I kicked my brother and his wife out of my parents' house with nothing but the clothes on their back. Yep, that's right. Child Protective Services took their kid, and my mom and dad are going to fight for custody if my grandparents do not show up. It's been 3 months of very intense work trying to get money and the house back, but it's worth it. I have a good lawyer, one of the best in the city, and a private investigator. They worked closely, investigating those two and gathering dirt on them. That was when they found out that my brother paid an employee at my dad's company some money so that he could release those funds. Since that same person was also working for a psychiatrist's office, they were able to give dementia documents as proof. Just one call from me and the entire department was under interrogation. My brother's name came up, which was a problem. Fraud, corruption, not crimes you can easily get away with, right? And then there was my sister-in-law and her chats. This one was a bonus. It helped tie the whole thing into a little bow and send them off. There was someone that my sister did not like at work. They used to be friends but got caught gossiping about the other employees by email, and I managed to get myself a copy of those emails. And what was also very shocking was the fact Aida did not get fired, but the other lady did. Why was it that stuff kept on following her? I got my answer once I looked through those emails, and it was a jackpot. Her partner in crime was someone to whom she revealed everything, with no filters. She referred to how she got rid of me and wanted to use the same tactic to get rid of her in-laws, and the only problem she had now was that she did not want her husband to find out that years ago she's been lying. Oh, he didn't know that she was lying? It was worth seeing his reaction in court as his face grew pale. She'd been playing him, making him her puppet, and he did not even realize it for a second. Did she ever love him? I don't know. What I do know is that we have no right to be in this house, and they have to pay me my father back. Everything is still a bit mangled, but we've managed to get them to leave the house at least. And can you believe that she already started decorating the house to her taste? She really is a lot. I hope that the two of them get a long time in prison for what they've done. Now, it's just between them and the state, so I guess we'll wait. Update number 5. I just wanted to let you know that they're in prison. Yep, they're in prison. My brother, 8 years, and my sister-in-law, 7. They had really good lawyers, too. Otherwise, they would have gotten so many more years. As for the false charges that she laid against me years ago, I pressed charges for that. They're still investigating, and it's my word against hers, and it's been more than 2 years since the incident happened. I'm not holding my breath, but it's fine. The prison that they sent her to has a reputation, and I'm sure that she's going to enjoy herself. Gosh, it felt so good to get my revenge after so many years. Once she's away from all the people who loved and cared for her, she'll feel what it's like to be truly lonely and alone, along with pain that comes with it. Also, I ended up having to tell my parents the truth, which I've been hiding for many years. It took me a while to come to terms with this and really believe that I am like this. I thought that something was broken inside of me because I could not catch feelings for anyone, whether male or female. But I finally got to tell my parents that I could not have romantic feelings for anyone. I've been like that since childhood. I can't even be attracted to someone else. My friend Kane knew, and that was why he found it hard to believe that I would behave so creepily with Aida. On another note, I'm worried about Randy. It's like he's disappeared off the face of the earth, and it's a bit unsettling. His girlfriend's been dodging my calls and texts, and when I called to see where they used to stay, nobody wanted to speak. I don't want to have open a missing persons case, and I also don't want to tell my parents how serious this is. They assume he's just with his girlfriend and that he's ignoring us. I know that my mom's going to question me about this the next time I visit them. I can only hope that by then, I'll have answers for her. I'm doing everything. My PI's working double time to find them, but it's proving hard, and I did not use his real name here, but he knows me. If he's reading this, he'll know my family by the way that I've described them, and I'm hoping that he's alive, and he's okay. I can't lose another person that I love. How is it that our once perfect family has been shattered? Will the pieces fit together ever again? Maybe not, since Thomas went and broke our family apart. So this was one of those stories where it was so ridiculous. And the reason I say that, what Aida was confusing and saying in this story and making OP look like he did unthinkable things, that is a big deal. And the accusations that Aida was saying OP did can literally change his life and ruin it forever. That is not a joke. Everything that she was saying, and we see at the end of the story, well, karma came back for Aida and her significant other, OP's brother. I do want to hear your thoughts about this story. It was definitely one of those that was gut-wrenching, but at the end, we got a little bit of justice. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate these sort of stories every single day. If you want to be a part of those, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. Only about 45% of the viewers are subscribed to the channel. Hit that button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.